Assalamu alaikum. How was the biryani? I hope you're awake after the biryani, I hope, okay? So I'm truly thrilled to be here with you today. I mean, I know that Adil and I have been trying to make this work for several years now. I'm finally here. I'm so excited and happy. This is not my first time in Pakistan, by the way. I've been coming to Pakistan. This is probably since 2008, 2009, so it might be like my 20th time. And I used to work for a company called Abu Dawood Group, which has a branch here. That's where I used to come so often. And one day my boss comes to me and tells me, why is it you are the only corporate employee who travels so much to Pakistan, so many times per year, like 3, 4, 5 times a year? I mean, like, I was a corporate L&D director. There's a corporate finance director, HR, and everybody else. And I was the only one who was frequently coming to Karachi specifically. And what they didn't know why I was coming, okay, there was 2 key reasons I was coming so frequently to Pakistan. The first one is the delicious food, of course, as you can see. And the second one are the amazing people that I have made acquaintance with. And I think many of them are already here. I've met, and I continue to be friends with them. So it's my privilege to be with you, and I'm very happy to see you all again. So I stopped coming to Pakistan, unfortunately, maybe like 6 years ago, when my wife asked me the question, do you have a second wife in Pakistan or something? Why are you going so many times to Pakistan? This one I decided to stop coming to Pakistan, but then I was also helped by the COVID and so on. So it was a miracle that I get the approval ticked of my wife that I come again, lucky me. I'm really looking forward to this. So can we have the slides, please? Yeah, so we're going to be talking today about the futuristic role of, again, talent management and HR people. So this presentation is about you. It's about us, all of us, basically. I mean, it's about how can we expand our roles to become true business partners. You know, like this expression of business partnership and partnering with the business to add value and so on. This is a very nice expression that we all talk about. However, to make it happen is not as easy as we all know. And I will try to show you how that we can maybe be able to do this. So we're going to be going through a very simplistic model, and then we're going to be going through a little bit more complex one, and I hope you'll follow with me accordingly. So as you know, I come from the pyramids, of course, okay? So I come from Egypt, and that's why we're going to be talking about another pyramid, not the Giza pyramid, but another pyramid. And first of all, I want to start first with this question, okay? When we think about a problem, a performance problem, you might think that imagine that there's like this pie chart in front of us, okay? And it's split into 2 parts. Part that has to do with an individual performance problem, individual employee performance problem, and another part that could be doing with the system processes and structure and management and so on, okay? If you can log into Slido, that's great. I think it's on, if you can do that. If not, if you can tell me how would this pie look like? Again, like, what is the problem? Who would say, like, this pie would be split if we had 100% of the pie? How much of this would be towards an individual performance problem, and how would, who would basically vote for more of a system structure management? Can you scream a little bit like, I want to hear a percentage? Who says majority for individual maybe, or majority for structure, system, and management? Huh? Come on, guys. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Huh? System more. Okay, what percent? Can you give a percentage, approximately? 70%. Okay, that's close. Anyone else? Anyone disagree with that, with this fact? Us as many. More people. Okay, so you'd say people would be representing what percentage of causing the problem, do you think? 40%. Okay, so you have a dilemma here again. So, and reality is based on actually an adapted from Edward Hemmings, like it's a Cambridge University research. It says that only 10% of failures to meet the business goals come from individual performers, while 90% actually caused by organization structure and management. And even within this 10%, believe it or not, you would possibly find other reasons, like, for example, like compensation issues or motivation issues, not all that are related to the knowledge and skills of the employee himself. So knowing this fact, okay, and now being in our roles as HR professionals or talent development experts, we always go and try to work and fix the individual performance by focusing on the knowledge and skills, right? So imagine what are we missing out that could be causing all this blue part we're missing out on by only focusing on the individual part. So just to give you a real life example from the business, because we said we want to relate this to the business. Imagine that we have a percent of workforce, okay? And like this is the bell curve of any performing organization. You see majority is in the middle, and they do like an average achievement of what they're supposed to be doing. We have a current goal of 100,000 X, whatever, $100,000, 100,000 rupees, 100,000 like efficiency figures, whatever you want to call it. And we have usually like very poor performance standing here, majority in the bell curve, and then we have some exceptional level of performance, which is a very minimal number that we call key performers, key performers. So our objective as two business partners in the field is to actually improve this curve, to try and push this curve, more and more people that are falling in the middle of the bell curve to be moving towards the right side. So let's say now that we want to actually increase the goal to 110,000 instead of 100,000, which means that we would have a gap of 10,000, okay? And in this case, the exemplary performance was exceeding expectation consistently, ahead even of the goal of 110,000, doing 115, is minimal. So we need to look at what those people are doing differently so that we can replicate their success stories to the rest of the organization. So you actually, if you manage to push the whole curve to be a new standard, okay, that's how basically you make a huge difference on the organization. And you ask me, Bahaa, are you telling me that us HR professionals, talent development experts, are the ones who are responsible of doing this? Yes, that's what I'm coming here today to try and tell you, okay? Why is it important that I want you to expand your role into a more value-added perspective onto organization in the business and how you're going to be doing it. So, eventually, we're going to be talking about a simple model, very simple model called the peak performance pyramid. And I want you to focus on the word peak. It's not just any performance, because there are a lot of performance standards. However, if you really want to reach the peak performance, then imagine that this is the base of the pyramid, and you want to reach the top of the pyramid with peak performance. What would you say the base of the pyramid would be? The very basic base of the pyramid, what would this be? One word. What would this be? Imagine, just to imagine, okay, imagine that you are the manager standing here, and you are hiring a new individual performer, okay, on the other side, and you want to make sure that when hiring this person at the very beginning of the performance, you want to make sure that you do it right. So what would you consider as the base of the pyramid? Anyone? I'm sure that you get it right. Because guess what? It was mentioned in the last panel. One word that was mentioned in the last panel. Just guess. You're hiring a new person. What would you want to make sure that this person is fitting? Sorry. Fitting, yes. Instead of the organization, let's say fitting within the role. So you want to make sure that the capacity, okay, of the pyramid, okay, of the base of the pyramid is the capacity that you want to make sure that you're hiring the right person in the right job. And then once you do this, you get the right person, you put it in the right job. Okay, so it's not that you get a very strong communicator and put in front of the computer, or a very solid salesman, or a very solid data analyst, and you put him, for example, to do some sales. If you're not doing this mistake, then you get the capacity right. And in this case, this person should be able to fly and achieve peak performance, right? There is no excuse for this person to really achieve peak performance, right? What else do they need? Nothing. They are capable of actually flying and achieving the peak performance. Am I right about this assumption or not? Yes or no? Just say yes or no. Yes? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Why? Because there is another actually building block, which is what? So I just hired this person, and I have him now with me. Then what do I do next as a manager for this? What should I be doing? Something that you all know. Sorry? Training? Training, absolutely. So you want to give him knowledge, or give her knowledge and skills. And now he or she doesn't have any excuse. You basically selected the right person, you gave them what they need in terms of knowledge and skills, okay? And they have no excuse to fly and like reach the top of the pyramid, the peak performance pyramid. Right or wrong? Again, right or wrong? Right or wrong? Do they have any excuse not to reach the peak performance? Yes or no? Yes? No? Absolutely not. Thank you. Thank you, Said. Why? Because after you do the knowledge and skills, there is one more thing which has to do with tools. You need to supply them with tools, right? So what are the tools that they're going to be using? And then after the tools comes what? Comes what after the tools? So you hire the right person in place with the right capacity. You give them the knowledge and skills they needed. You give them the right tools to do the job. They should be able to reach the peak performance. Yes or no? Still no. They need what next? So yes, they need motivation, but before that, you just need to tell them what are they supposed to do. Something very basic. What are the tasks that you are basically asking them to do? As simple as that, okay? I mean, going back to the basics is wonderful, and it's miraculous in the same time. So if you give them the task, and eventually you make sure that they don't perform this task like with the concept of the end, just the mean justifies the end or whatever. No, you want to put the frame of policies and procedures. So yes, I expect you to deliver the task, but within this framework of policies and procedures. And then eventually, we do the motivation piece, like you mentioned, okay, through information sharing, feedback, okay, ongoing communication, okay, in a timely manner. And hence, that's it. I mean, they have no other excuse not to reach the actual peak performance, right? Except that there is one very critical tip of the pyramid that's missing. And this tip is actually what most of the managers and organizations miss in terms of their basically support for their individual performance. What would that be? What do you think would that be? And again, this is another secret word, another magic word that was mentioned today. I don't remember by whom. So the tip of the pyramid would be what, do you think? Huh? Anyone? Any guesses? Sorry? Motivation, you said? Motivation comes under information, Hassan. What else? What? Huh? Sorry, sir? Goal, okay. Something a little bit bigger than goals. It's the purpose. It's the purpose. Why this job exists in the first place. And why do I basically, what's my contribution is going to be achieving as an added value in this job? So if you do these blocks right, okay, at timely manner with every hire, they are basically supported to achieve the peak performance. Now, what's the role of a manager in building this? So the manager basically, when it comes to the capacity, as I mentioned, they choose the right people in the right place, okay? They train and develop. He provides and upgrades tools. He informs, makes KPIs for the person who are hired, and sets and explains policies and processes, and then gives feedback, guides, and eventually he wants to make sure that envisions and engages the individual performer. That's the role of the manager. He would have done his duty toward this individual performer. But is that it? Doesn't the employee as well have something to do? Absolutely, yes, definitely. So also the employee has certain expectation. So when we look at the employee role in terms of this, achieving this peak performance pyramid, the employee would need to live the capacity. In the interview, you told me that you have the capability and you're able and you did that before. So you need to show me that you're actually doing it. And when I give you the training, all I need you to do is to apply it and use the tools. Don't tell me that I don't want to basically use the new ERP system. I want to stick to my old Excel sheet. Use the new tools that I supply you with, and then performs and achieves the tasks, and absolutely follows, respects the guidelines and policies and procedures, and listen to the information, take it as gifts, and accordingly, basically, adjust. And eventually, when it comes to the purpose, all what is required from this person is to believe in the person, believe in the purpose. Okay? And this is why I'm saying that it's one of the most critical pieces that are so important. So, now from this model of the performance pyramid, I want to move to a more complex model, which is called the ATDs, ATD Association Talent Development, HPI model, which is the human performance model. So it consists of, I'm going to tell you a little bit very quickly what is human performance. There are 3 principles of HPI, and then the performance chain and the model itself. So the TD-HPI model is a results-based, systematic process that ensures that you look at the total performance of the individual within the organization. And this is basically what it's supposed to achieve: identifying problems, analyzing the root causes, very critical, okay? Select and design action, manage solution in the workplace, eventually measure the result, and continuously improve the performance. So let's look then at the 3 principles of HPI. Principle number 1 is that it uses results-based. So it starts with the business results. So we're saying that talent development and HR expert should be very much aware with what are the business goals of the organization that needs to be achieved. Because anything they are doing needs to be leading to achieving this business goal. So that's one key principle. It's results-based. And then we're going to have a little bit of a controversy here, because HPI, unlike what Luix told us a little bit a while ago, HPI focuses first on outcomes. But we're not saying that it focuses on only outcomes, but it focuses on outcomes and behavior, and not on an exceptional basis, because Luix was said, like, you might have achieved this outcome by mere luck. In this case, to be considered a key performer, you need to be consistent in delivering this outcome for at least over 6 months. You're delivering exceptional outcomes over 6 months. This is when we say focus on outcome. Because you know what? Imagine that there is this traffic driver in the port of Karachi, and he's hustling all day long, okay, like moving around with his forklift, trying to move things around and so on. However, at the end of the day, instead of like loading maybe 30 containers on a ship, okay, he only loaded 10. Despite like his behavior seemed very positive and very active and so on. But the outcome was not achieved. So eventually the outcome is what you measure when the employee has left back home. Can you see a physical outcome that was produced or not? If yes, then eventually the employee would have achieved something that is viable. And last is that HPI acknowledges organization as systems. So it does not only look at one part of the organization, but it looks at the total organization with all its different influences and the connection between the different processes. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this in a short while. So, performance chain, very logical approach. We get the right people, as we mentioned in the pyramid. We provide the required resources. They perform tasks on the job, whatever this task is. They produce outcome, being a sale, a strategy, a claim resolution, whatever it is, and then to achieve the business goals: profit, market share, cost reductions, and so on. Okay? So we basically, performance chain unfolds in this direction while we analyze in this direction. We just mentioned that when we come to analyzing the performance, we start with the business goal. We start with the business goal. So costs are usually inflicted here. When we hire people, we cost, required resources, you spend budgets and money, and then performing tasks, pay salaries and all this stuff. However, the value actually is created here, and this is where you become really value added when it comes to that part. So this is the ATD-HPI model, and I don't want you to be overwhelmed with the model. I just want to tell you that there is a model, and I would encourage you that you go and check it out on the internet, very well known. And very quickly, I told about the 3 principal results, and the results would be here. At the business analysis phase and in the evaluation phase, we talked about the outcome, and this is where we look at the performance standards and the performer analysis. And when we look at performer analysis, we're looking at the key performer analysis. We're not looking at the average performers. We're not looking at the middle of the bell, but at the key performer, exceptional performer. Why is that? Because you are going to learn exceptional things that this key performer is doing that you can learn from, and eventually replicate with the average performer or key performer so that you can push the curve to the right, as we mentioned a short while ago. And then the third, organizational systems. And when we look at this, you look at the total organizational system, things that related to the workplace and structure, work processes, management organization support, technology and resources, human resources and the selection process. Knowledge and skills is only one item, believe it or not. Training is only one item of all these systems. And then personal motivation. And then you find the solution, you implement it, and then you evaluate it, blah, 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 all the stuff. Okay? So when you look at the business analysis, the performance gaps, and the influence analysis, okay, this is basically when you look at the different, I want to focus a little bit on the idea of the influence analysis at the organizational system. And these are the different, basically, items of the system that we need to look at. And we look here at environmental factors versus individual factors. I'm going to bring this back again very quickly. So look at physical resources, structure, process, information. These are environmental factors, something that are external of the individual control, while the knowledge, motives, and capacity are actually under the individual control. So if you think now again, very quickly, if you look at the, again, we're not going to be going through Slido, but when you look at the environmental factors, and if I ask individual, like people, like regular people, I ask them what's the split between the environmental factor affecting performance versus the individual factor, this would be the research of tens of years, the research outcome of tens of years. 82% would say mostly coming from environmental, while 18% only comes from individual. But what do you think would be the split if you're asking management? What would be the percentage if you're asking management? The other way around, absolutely right. So if you're asking management, this is how it would look like. 59% would tell you it's the individual who is basically causing the issues and not the environment. So having said that, and going back again, I just want to let you understand that I want you to expand your role from only focusing on this little tiny piece, as you see here, the learning and development part, which we're concerned with. Somebody comes and asks you, I want this training, okay, and you just go and do it. While it could be having nothing to do with fixing the performance. It would be a waste of time, money, and effort. Why? Because possibly the issues are somewhere else. So you need to understand first, what is the business goal? Why does he need this training? What is the performance issue that's happening? What is the gap? You start with this, and then you go to understand who are the key performers? What is the standard that needs to be achieved? Okay? And what kind of gap do you have? And then you look at the total organizational system, and you analyze all these factors that could be influencing performance. Not only the knowledge and skills that you are today maybe focusing on, but I want you to expand your horizon to become rather true business partner by looking at all the other factors. Somebody would tell me, this is not realistic. I'm not asking you to take over the business. I'm not asking you to become like an implementer yourself of your solutions. But I want you to be consultant to advise the business, to recommend solutions based on your understanding of what's going on. And then in the solution selection, this happens with the subject matter expert that needs to be along with you in the team. You implement and you evaluate accordingly. So this is very quickly the HPI model. And I hope that this gives me some new ideas. Did you get any new ideas from this presentation? Any light bulbs like came out in your mind? Just raise your hand if it did. Please raise your hand. If not, then continue to. Okay, even you said yes. Thank you very much. And any questions? If you have any questions, I don't think we have the time for questions now, right, Khadija? Yeah? No, of course. And that's why I basically posted my LinkedIn profile. Okay, you can scan my barcode, and I'll be willing to receive all your questions about this concept any point in time and be engaging with you on LinkedIn if you wish. Thank you very much, and looking forward to meet you later.